Hey Deborah, how are you?
Hey, John, how are you doing? It's good to see you again.
Oh, it's lovely to see you. How was your week?
My week was busy enough that it felt like it was more than a week. This was good to be practicing just one, just creating space, creating energy space, and to center. And what was interesting, my this was not just those in moment, but creating space in my day. So, yes, I start my day out with like a meditation with my angels. Yes, I end the day with my gratitudes because that sort of brings me back to no matter how many things did or did not get done or what did or did not go wrong. Those I try to find at least three things I'm grateful for every day. But also looking and saying, this just feels like so much when I'm starting to feel overwhelmed. I'm like, I need to create more space in my day. So the sun comes out and it's like, yeah, I'm going for a walk, and I'm like, I have to get back into that. It's lit. It's a sign of the times we live in, right? The push to be productive, that we actually have to schedule those breaks in our day. But it reminds me of when I was learning to do a little bit of meditation along the studying a little bit Buddhism and learning meditation. That when you would go to a retreat, this is before phone that you could like set to do this for you, but you're there and you're meditating. And even when you're not sitting in satsana, you're walking around. They would ring a bell or a gong like every hour on the hour, and that was stop, pause, center, like every hour. Except at night, they would let you sleep. So, um, but it's like, yeah, this so that my just one thing was reminding not just in the moment, but actually creating space in my day every day. How was your week?
Oh, my week was very chaotic, and I'm surprisingly good at maintaining my alignment and my breath in the face of adversity. So that actually wasn't my biggest challenge. My biggest challenge was yesterday when I had nothing to do. And I think my toxic trait is that I have to be producing or creating or doing something to feel validated. And yesterday, when I had nothing to do and nowhere to be, it was really a great practice for me to remind myself that just allowing myself and to um, just center myself and feel whole and worthy even when I'm not producing, that that's okay. So I did a lot of breath work and a lot of meditation and centering yesterday. And it was really amazing and challenging, but it was great practice.
That brings to mind thing I remember from one of my very early teachers. She was a yoga teacher, and one of the people I first started learning about meditation with when I was considerably younger. And she said, we are this concept of being still and calm. We're human beings, not human doings. I remember, as a teenager, I was like, wow, that's like profound, right? But it's true, and I don't think that it's gotten less. I think that in many ways, the society that we live in, definitely, there's this constant pressure. Social media, it's like, posting, do this, post this, and be seen. And how many followers do you have? How many likes do you have? And it's like, if you're not constantly posting, you're not getting the likes. And you know, do you like yourself enough to just step back and just be? Yeah.
Yeah, it's really powerful. I just jot that down. Um it's powerful because for me, I'm always thinking like I'm taking the high road when I'm producing, because I'm like, if I'm not producing, I'm consuming. So I would rather be a producer than a consumer. But knowing that there's that third option where you're not, neither producing or consuming is really healthy.
Hmm. Hmm. Yeah, yeah. I like that. That it's that point, that sort of balance point of like, Mhm.
So, when we last talked, you were mentioning that there are going to be 5 things, 5 questions that we are going to be asking ourselves. Do you mind letting us know what those are?
Sure. And before people panic, like, oh my gosh, there's 5 questions, I didn't, I only studied for 4 of them. It's that we're not going to tackle all 5 questions all at once. But what this comes from is my background. My college degree was in film and video making, but comes coming from a journalism background, which I also did in high school. I was the editor of our school newspaper for a while, and what I learned in my journalism classes was when you're creating a piece, when you're trying to create a story, share this information, to have this framework of these they call them the 5 big questions, which are who, what, when, where, and why. And depending on the nature of what you're creating, you might focus the story on one or the other. But when you're trying to put the content together, making sure you're looking at all those 5 questions and having some information in terms of how that informs the content or the story that you're creating.
I love it. So, where should we start?
Well, I figured why not start with why?
Okay. Do I have to go
So,
first?
why, John? Why? Why are we here? Wait, you don't know why we're here? You don't have the meaning of life? Well, give you a little bit of a lead in for that. So, I mean, we are both in the same coaching group for the spiritual businesses that we are working on creating and building. And there is a beautiful part of the training, and there's a beautiful meditation that our mentor did for us called Finding Your North Star, which is really all about finding your why. So, yes, there is the whole overarching question of like, why are we here? I think that that's kind of a big existential question that we're not going to tackle here, at least not in this episode. We're only two couple episodes in, but it is helpful to ask what is the why of what, when we are not just human beings, but when we are doing, what is the why of what we're doing? Why am I, creating? Why am I responding to this experience, this situation in the way that I am? Why is it that I can respond this way to this person, but when someone else, particularly family member, that interesting dynamic where I think we see these mirroring in our relationships. We'll have a friend who is very similar to somebody in our family, right? It's like slightly, challenging, but it's more challenging in the family. But why can I be more accepting or tolerant, or find a way of connecting with my friend? Why do I remember? It's that same thing of really kind of looking at the whys, what informs the whys of our responses, the whys of the why of our choice.
Awesome. I think of my why, my perpetual why, as being loving and accepting in every circumstance. And what that allows me to do is to kind of go with the flow and accept when I'm feeling certain emotions, whether it's anger, frustration, stress, anxiety. Instead of resisting those emotions, I can accept them and know that through love as my why, I can conquer anything. And that I'm far more powerful accepting the circumstances and working through them or with them than resisting them or avoiding them. So And in that's when the circumstances are negative, but also when the circumstances are joyful and celebratory, when you're present in love and
Mm,
acceptance, it makes that even more fulfilling as well.
mhm. Yeah. I have to say, one of the things that I think is so beautiful about you, I think that even very early on when we were first just doing things online, that energy of that genuine connection, that genuine desire to find the center point of love, which is what allows us to accept. I think that was always something that came through. No matter what the circumstances, whether somebody just suddenly called on you in some big event and you're like, oh, now I have to talk about myself. And that's part of it, right? Of the self ability to love ourselves, I think, is sometimes maybe the last stronghold of where we break through to accept, because acceptance deals um of the human experience, which is the human, as humans we're not perfect. I think that as humans we're not intended to be perfect. We come in with our little quirks and our habits and our things that we have to work through, because that's part of that journey of moving, experiencing this energy and moving and experiencing that healing, sometimes so that we can help others with that. um but it's interesting when you were talking about resistance. So I was thinking about the analogy of, if you ever do, if you like take surfing lessons or ocean kayaking, or something, or diving lessons, when you're out at the on the shore, at the beach, in the ocean. One of the things the instructors always talk about is what to do if you get caught in an undertow, which is this current that basically is just pulling you further and further out, and people feel that, and they're trying to swim back. They're swimming against the current, and the undertow is just constantly pulling you further out. That most actually a very narrow channel, and when you realize that's what you're stuck in, the solution is to orient yourself to the shore and swim parallel. It will be a struggle for a little bit to get out of the undertow, but if you swim parallel to the shore, you will break free. So to me, that's the analogy of the resistance. When we are feeling an emotion that we don't think we should be feeling, it's anger or it's guilt or it's um, sometimes even not. I mean, grief is a challenging emotion. I would not put it in the negative emotion, but it's not an emotion that people voluntarily get up and say, "Hey, I think I'll be in total grief today." It's something that we experience as a result of circumstances around us. So
That
when we
that
find
analogy
ourselves,
really resonates with me because I grew up on the coast and my first
mm,
job was actually as a swim instructor. So so I actually fully understand that. And it's so true that you have the two spectrums where some people fall into the toxic positivity where they're pretending that everything's okay but they're not really in alignment with the feeling. And then you have the people that are stuck in the mud and just go like resisting it and fighting everything, and it really is about coming into to alignment and accepting and loving your current circumstances and working through them and allowing to yourself to grow out of them naturally. um
mhm,
there are like some profound lessons in grief and in sorrow and in rejection and in all of these emotions. There are lessons for us to learn, and even if it's just lessons of empathy to better be better present for others as well.
mhm. And I think part of the acceptance um, does come from having the courage to lie, and to be able to ask the question why. So there's two ways to ask the question why. Why is this happening? Or hmm, why is this happening, right? And those two responses, the ability to get curious, is coming from a place of some point of centering, of I feel centered enough, I feel or brave enough sometimes to just be curious about why I am feeling. And the why is the other why of the why is this happening really, I think, comes from that place of judgment. We're either judging the other person, like, why are they doing this? Or why am I feeling this? Why am I still angry? Why am I still not over this? You know, it's that comes from that place of judgment. So when we first discern which why vibe we're coming from, is it this why or the let's get curious why? If we can bring ourselves to that place of curiosity, why might this be happening? um the Dalai Lama talks a lot about the compassion of understanding. He has a lot of enemies in the world, right? He's, you know no longer, he's moved from his home country of Tibet, and is living, in exile, as it were. um, and he said, someone asked him, and he said, "Of course I would be angry. Of course I'm angry, but I don't choose to stay in anger." And he says, and I choose to think about, why would anyone, a government or whatever the officials are, why would they choose to do this? Here I am, a teacher of peace, and why am I such a threat? I don't have an army. Why am I such a threat? um and so it's part of the getting curious is being curious about, well, why would someone be behaving in this way? Sometimes if you're in a very difficult situation, and there is a lot of trauma connected to that, maybe that's not the most helpful path to go in. But you can get curious about, why am I feeling angry? Okay, why am I angry? Well, if anyone would be angry, blah blah blah, this, what, or why am I having a hard time forgiving? Sometimes what happens in that frame of why, we fall into this pattern of self-judgment again. So I found it's kind of helpful to take that why and flip it to, why not? Why not be angry? This person just betrayed you, literally betrayed you, or, did something hurtful or harmful. You lost, why not feel grief? It's becomes this, well, of course you're angry. Of course you're, it's that why not is asking that why, asking the why not is giving us permission to feel that emotion. It's moving away from that toxic positive feeling an emotion. I think sometimes we say why not because we don't want to get stuck. We don't want to be angry all the time. We don't want to be. Grief is a good one. I think that people are sometimes, when there's a very deep loss, we are afraid to go into the fullness of that grief because we are afraid it'll overwhelm us. Like it's just going to be a wave, and like the undertow, we're just going to pull out, and we're never going to be able from air for air. But when we ask, why not? Why not feel this why not feel this deep, deep sadness? It's a reflection of how much we loved, or why not feel really angry, because I feel betrayed, because, this person, crossed a boundary, and maybe I was not old enough to even know that I had boundaries, right? So when we look at the why from those two perspectives of being curious and then going a little bit deeper and saying why not, it gives us permission to explore the emotion and with that emotion from that framework of being less judgmental about the experience.
Yeah, and that exploration is so important. Without experiencing sorrow, you can't truly experience joy. Although
Mhm,
emotions are like this wave of experience, and without heartbreak you can't have love. And
mhm,
allowing yourself to truly experience those low lows just make the extreme highs even more profound and better as well. um
mhm,
you can't have one without the other.
mhm, mhm. And I think also too, the question of why not is sometimes, I mean, I identify myself as a cosmic adventurer. a cosmic adventurer above and beyond all things, because even as a kid, I just loved to go out and have adventures. Even though, living in the Bronx, I didn't have very far I could go for an adventure, but the adventure might be going to the playground on the other side of the apartments that I wasn't supposed to go to because I wasn't supposed to cross the street, but I went there anyway because the swings were better. Or climbing the tree that was between the two apartments that I wasn't supposed to be in, so my mother was yelling. I'm like, get down from the tree really quick before anybody sees you're up there. Maybe that's my adventure.
This is why we're
But
such good friends, is because you were always the rebel and I was always the rule follower. So we complement each other well.
oh, it's a good thing we didn't grow up together. I would have gotten you into so much trouble. I will say though, at least I was, if because there were oftentimes, because I had younger brothers with me, and oftentimes I had this little gang of like these little guys that were like these little kids that were following me around. And I mean, I would never all cross the street to the playground we're not supposed to go to. It's like, um, but yeah, I would always take responsibility of it. No, it was my idea. It was, I was the one that told everybody go, go do this, whatever. But yeah, it the invitation of, why not? Well, why not? So, you know, happens, and being responsible about it, being accountable, okay? Why not get angry? Maybe not in that person's face, the whole punching bag, go. There are these people on TikTok that have come up since I've been doing the duets with you on TikTok. And there's this one guy, I love him. He's actually here, if I can catch up with him. He every video he starts out and he's in this hiking gear and he's stopping. He's going, "I'm going for a walk in the beautiful forest for my because this stupid walk is good for me." You know? And it's so funny. But he's and he thing, and then as he's walking, he goes, and he stops and he goes, "Yeah, it's good for me." you know. And it's so humorous and it's so funny, but it's like, okay, why not be angry, or why not, and looking at that and letting the emotion be, not judging it for what it is. That doesn't mean you have to take action on it. It's understanding that, okay, I'm being really judged. Why am I? Well, why not be hard on yourself? Well, you know what, when you think about it, you family, everybody was really hard on you. You're just following the adults said this is how you're supposed to treat yourself as you're an adult now. The way the adults nurture you. And you look at that, and when you start to, then you can start to ask, well, why not? That judgment keeps me stuck, So it's like, well, the why not is because this isn't helping me. And so then it's like, well, why not be more compassionate and accepting of myself?
I love it. So everybody jot this down. This week, your homework is to find your why. And why don't we actually also put another column where we have our why not? So our why and our why not, we're going to explore this week. Let us know how it goes in the comments, and we'll see you next time.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Good seeing you. Love you
Awesome,
all.
Deborah. It's been lovely sharing my weekend with you. I can't wait to see you again.
Yep. Why not? Why not do it again?
Yeah, let's do it.